Kritika from Maharashtra. Chandana from Telangana. Nice. I think we've not had any repetition up till now. Amazing. Seems like everyone is from a different place. What about others? If possible, Jaipur, again, another one. Great. Would just be from Mumbai. That's one time. Samanvita from West Bengal. Okay, so West Bengal is the first one that was repeated. Nice. Nisha from Mumbai again. Mumbai also, we have a repeat. Another new state. Amazing. Vastu. What's the one Indore? The cleanest city. Sridhara from Karnataka. Amazing. Great. I think we have a very nice mix. If anyone left, you can always put it down on the chat. I think we already have seen a lot of people from a lot of different parts of the country. I know there are some that I can see who are from across in the globe as well. But happy, like you can put it down across whenever you want to. It's fine. Great. Vishal, just want to check. Let me know when we can start. We have, I think.
Yeah, sure.
we
So
have the
far we
audience.
have had 33 participants. Yes. However, we'll just wait for 2 more minutes if you are okay.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, before we start, in the meantime, if any of you would like to tell whether or not you know about actuarial science, you can maybe drop out the message. I'll see if I can create a poll. Question. Maybe a quick yes or no if you can answer whether you know about actuarial science. Maybe in the chat, like if you have any understanding, you can just type it out. It'll be a good context as I take on the session forward.
Hi, sir. Let's start. It's 12:05.
Okay, perfect. Great. So as we start, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Aman Lorca. I'm a qualified actuary and a director at IAQS. I largely am currently working as I'm a founder at an AI-based startup where we're building campus placement coordinator all using AI. So that's my background. Though I'm an actuary, I've worked as a consultant, then I've worked in the education, and now I'm building a SaaS product. So very different from core actuarial that you usually typically hear about in terms of the working in an insurance. So that's me, someone who's come from a very different background in terms of, like, I'm from Gujarat. I have come from a business background. Like my family has always been in business, that I always wanted to pursue something of like a professional. I wanted to always pursue professional education. Ended up studying for actuarial science, and then the progression that I told you about. The reason I'm here is largely to talk about the profession of actuarial science. Even today, it has, like, although it is like since the last 15-20 years, I have not seen actuaries dropping below the top 10 professions globally. It's always been the top 5 or 6 professions globally since the last 7, 8 years that I have been in the industry. And I, not 7, 8, in fact, 10 years that I've been in the industry. And yet the awareness about this program is as minimal as any other profession can get. So the purpose of this session largely is to talk about the entire profession of actuarial science. I'll be happy to address whatever you guys have questions on towards the end, very candidly, whatever you want to know, and would be as open as possible to share whatever knowledge I've gained in the last 10 years in the industry, and largely talk about finance in general. So talk about how finance industry is evolving and how actuaries are playing a very crucial role in it. The session has been brought to you by RRU and IAQS, RRU Rashtriya Raksha University and IAQS. We'll talk about it later as we move towards the second half. But yeah, let's get into the session. So if I can maybe quickly ask you guys, what is your understanding of finance as an industry? So what I mean is, like, what is finance for you? If you can maybe type it down on the chat, what do you mean by finance? So let's say when the first thing that I think of when I think of finance is something related to money. So that's what is finance about. What are your thoughts about it? What do you think finance means? You can simply chat. If you want, you can speak it up as well, or you can simply go to the chat and you can type it out. According to you, what does finance really mean as a career, as a personal life, as an enabler, whatever you feel like. Yeah, you can go ahead, Liam. You can speak it up or you can simply put it on the chat, whatever works. Managing economy of the country very well. Finance is largely associated with economy, investing money in a right way, perfect. So somewhere money, like when you think of finance, it's about money, it's about numbers. Yes, Harshit. Anyone else? All right. So according to me, finance is largely money. And if we talk about it from a Maslow's hierarchy need, the core of a human is, like in Hindi we call it roti paisa, roti kapda or makan, food, cloth, and a place to stay. Everything is ultimately associated with money. So to meet your basic demands, what you need is money, and that money flows in the economy in various ways and forms, and that is what is finance. Now, finance technically is the lifeblood of the entire economy. We measure largely everything in economy through finance and through numbers. But still, we say that finance contributes 20% of the entire global GDP. Now, what does that really mean? Like, what does it mean when I say that everything is technically in finance terms or money terms, but finance contributes about 20% of the economy? So what we mean here is that although we measure everything in money, but finance as an industry is not just about money. So a cashier who's sitting behind a mall's desk, billing desk, is not in finance, although he's dealing with money. So there is a difference between money in general or finance that flows in the economy and finance as an industry. So that is the first thing that we want to understand. When you say finance industry, it involves industries like investment banks, insurance, pensions, banking, wealth management, largely industries that provide services related to finance. So an accountant is also in the finance industry, and a risk analyst is also in the finance industry if he is helping manage the money matters. That itself as an industry, things like investments, bankings, all these things, this itself contributes to more than 20% in the global GDP. So, and of this 20%, largely insurance is considered as the biggest industry overall in terms of the money because of the huge volume that it has. So insurance includes insurance, pensions, everything. And I'm sure everyone would know that every employee that is there in a contractual organization, in a formal organization, has something called as EPF or PFs. All that is measured, or all that is an industry, like all that is managed by companies that are related to insurance and pensions, that comes under the insurance industry. So insurance as an industry itself is the biggest industry in the world, and of course finance contributes to more than 20. Like the financial services industry itself contributes to more than 20% of the entire GDP. Now, how do people get into finance? So when I say finance, again, let's think of it from the perspective that there are two layers of finance. One is the front line layer of finance, where things like accountant are directly working with people to do the finance work. Let's say something related to a wealth manager, where a wealth manager comes to your house and explains to you, or a let's say an insurance broker, for example, or a mutual fund distributor. These are all someone who works in the finance domain. But the other layer of finance, which is the cream layer, is what we want to talk about more, which includes quantitative finance, which includes professional certification courses, which includes, let's say, risk management, essentially dealing with the core ability to take decisions in finance. So what do I mean by that? Let's say if I were to, let's say, make two comparison. One comparison is of a general manager in a bank. Now that bank manager, let's say if I am an individual and I go to the bank and I ask the general manager that I want a loan from the bank. What would the bank manager say? That, okay, based on your credit history and everything, I think I can give you 7 to 8% of interest, like loan at, let's say, 8 to 9%, depending on the relationship that I have. But I would have been given a mandate as a general manager that I have to give the loan at 8 to 9%. Now that is the front relationship or frontline finance that usually works. The other side of finance is deciding how much interest to charge. So 8 to 9%, the directive comes from the entire maths of finance. That's where the entire cream of finance is, where you essentially like do mathematical and statistical calculation, do risk assessment to identify exactly how much interest rate to charge if someone comes to the bank. Now, of course, I have put it very simplistically, but there's a lot of process that happens. But that is the second layer of finance, where you don't really, maybe directly don't work with the client, but you have a much bigger agenda or much bigger role to play in the entire industry that is there. Now, how do you get into this industry? Largely, people think of getting into finance industry is all about commerce. So that's also been the traditional path. Let's say if I am someone who's been set up on the fact that I want to be someone working in finance. Let's say I want to be in finance. As if that is decided from day one, then I'll probably take commerce. I would not probably study science. I'll then realize that, okay, directly just by a BCom or a BBA degree, I might not get the right kind of job or the right kind of clients or exposure. So I'll end up doing a CA or an MBA, or maybe certification courses like CFA, FRM, and then I'll get into a job and then go ahead. We'll talk about that career path. Then there are alternative routes that have started emerging. Like there are a lot of quantitative degrees that are there. There are a lot of professional courses like so there's this IQF that talks about, and there's iQuanta. There's many other quantitative degree institutes that provide specific specializations and quantitative degrees for you to get into finance. And then in between all this, what happens is you try to identify what is right for you based on whatever information you have. So ultimately, what happens in finance, though it is the lifeblood of the entire economy and everyone knows is the most important thing, still we lack a proper structure or a proper path towards your journey, or towards just understanding where you want to go in finance. So that's kind of what we want to address through this session also. Now, if I talk further about the timeline a little more, in terms of the career that people look at, people usually start at UG, the undergrad level. They would either do a BCom or even a BTech or something like that. Then once the undergrad end, they will try to do some or the other certification. It can be a master's route, it can be CFA, FRM, it can be MBA or something related. End up working as an accountant or an analyst if they are going from a traditional BCom or a commerce route. Or let's say if they're from the technical side, if they understand mathematics, they would be a little better off. They would probably then go towards quantitative courses and then towards risk analyst and then become a quant lead. Or let's say in case of a commerce or a little bit more frontline related role, you'll probably become a finance manager, AVP in a banking company, that kind of role. The other thing that largely has been neglected is what we are going to talk about, that is actuarial science as a route in the finance. So actuarial science can happen in multiple ways. We'll talk about it, but largely the midway between commerce or finance in general that what people perceive, and the technical roles for people who come from a science background is what actuaries give. It blends essentially business economics and mathematical statistics. So that's where actuaries come in, and that's what we're largely going to talk about. So before we progress with actuarial, just to quickly tell you about what are the major kind of roles that are available, so that when we start with Q&A, you can maybe discuss this as well. There's one of the most prominent role that people want to get into is investment banking. That involves roles like mergers and acquisition, that involves a lot of deal and structuring, those kind of things, which is essentially the holy grail of finance that people say. There's financial analysis and equity research related roles, which is more of a research role on, let's say, where to invest, what kind of, like, understanding the health of a financial company, all those things. Then there is insurance and reinsurance, the entire calculation behind how to remain solvent as a company, what should be the premium to charge, what should be the assumptions to make to release out reserves and provisions. I can talk about that a little later. It's a little more technical. It's very fun to understand. So that's on insurance and reinsurance. Then there's risk management itself. A lot of economists go towards risk management. Then there's data science and finance. Every bank hires in big numbers when it comes to data scientists. So that itself is a very big role in the finance industry. And there are corporate finance and treasury. So treasury is essentially managing the company's funds that is there. So that is treasury role. That's also becoming very big as people are understanding the need for formalization and more structure. They've started taking roles as treasury as well very seriously. It's a bit more fancier version of accountant, very honestly. Then there are globally growing professions like ESG in finance, like carbon credits. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's one of the most fastest growing industry. There's a lot of finance involved in terms of understanding how much credits you get and how to utilize those carbon credits, how to neutralize the carbon footprint, all those things. And there's cybersecurity specifically in the financial industry. And then there is fintech as an industry that has grown so much that is involving a lot of people from different domains into finance. Now, let's talk about actuarial science. I asked a question in terms of how many of you know actuarial science. If you want, you can maybe put it across, or I'll anyways take it from scratch. So I think you have one person, someone with a sharing that actuarial science is a field of study that uses mathematics, statistics, economics, and finance to assess and manage risk in areas like insurance, pension, investment, consulting, financial. Perfect. I think that's exactly what is actuarial science. Samanvita, if you want to discuss about it, if you want, you can turn on your mic and maybe talk about it a little more, or of course, I'll take it forward anyways.
I just want to learn more about actuarial science. I don't know very much about actuarial science.
Okay,
so
no, but your definition is fairly very accurate. It's in a technical definition term, it is exactly what you said. I'll try to make it a little more simple. I'll try to give you examples of what kind of work actuaries do that will make things a little more clear. So I think I'll use whatever Samanvita has already shared. Essentially, actuarial science or actuaries are the first professionals who manage risks and modeling the financial impact of based on the likelihood of future scenario. So of course, very technical, but let's say if I were to make it a little more simple, think of it like if, let's say, I am an insurance company, or instead of insurance, let's say if I am a bank. Now, as a bank manager, we talked about the example of loan and interest rate. Think of, I hope that everyone understands what is repo rate, or instead, let me talk about, so essentially, if you don't know about repo rate, there is a rate that the central government gives banks loan at. So that is the basis at which you usually give loan. Cool. Perfect. Anyone anyone who does not know repo rate, if I can maybe have a quick understanding of that. I'll quickly tell about what is repo rate and then take it forward. It'll be very crucial for the example that I'm using. So show of hands or a message if you know what is repo rate. REPO, repo rate. Interest rate fixed by the central bank. Okay, largely a correct understanding. Okay, both knows what is repo rate. Cost of also knows what is repo rate. Okay. Anyone who does not know what is repo rate, maybe they can put it out on the chat. I'll explain what is repo rate and then take it forward. Okay, so I'm understanding that everyone knows. Okay, okay. So Abdul does not know repo rate. There's one who does not know repo rate. Please explain. Arushi also does not know repo rate. Okay. Anyone else? Interest rate charged by central banks. Perfect. Rate which central bank thinks. Okay, perfect. Cool. Let me. I think some of you know, some of you who does not know. I'll try to make it a little more simple. So repo rate is nothing but repurchase rate. To like, there's a little bit technical definition to it, but in simple terms, as a bank also, if I have to give loan, traditionally what people think is, if I have to give loan, if let's say if I'm Aman, I'm a bank, so let's say it is ABC Bank that is run by Aman. If I want to give loan to say Oath, so how do I give that loan? I need to have that money. One way is I will have people like Kritika or Samanvita or Pintu give me, like, deposit money in my bank account as their interest savings account or current account deposits. I will have, let's say, some deposit available, and then I'll give that money as loan to Oath. Now, in this case, what I'll do is I'll try to make a differential. Like, I will give away interest rate of say 5% to Kritika, Samanvita, and Pintu, and charge Oath 8%. And the 3% will be my net margin that I will earn. This is what traditionally happens, right? But let's say Oath wants to take loan that is more than what the people have deposited. So in that case, how do I give that loan? I will go to a central bank and ask bank to give me loan so that I can give it forward to Oath. So what I'm doing is, as a bank, ABC Bank borrows money from the central bank at a rate and then adds some margin and then gives it out to Oath or the whoever is the lender that comes, whoever is the person who's coming to borrow the money. This rate at which I, as a bank, take loan from the central bank is called repo rate in the most simplest of form. So repo rate is the benchmark that decides the rate that other people, like as a bank, I need to charge to people like Oath or the borrowers. So let's say if I get loan at 6% from central bank, I will give loan to Oath at say 8%. So that is what is repo rate. Now, coming back to our example, what is actuarial science, what is actuaries or what are actuaries doing is they are essentially identifying the financial impact of likelihood based on future scenarios, right? So let's say now let's get it in a situation where we say that Oath has taken loan at 8% from me and I have taken loan from bank at 6%. Now, say a bank suddenly decides that I don't want to like lend out money to ABC Aman at 6%, rather I want to charge 8%. This is a very big deviation. It does not happen as quickly and as easily. It's very minor deviation. But for the sake of example, let's think of it. Say instead of 6%, the bank says tomorrow that whatever loan you take ahead, I'll only give you 8%. I'll charge 8% as an interest rate. But I have already given loan to Oath at 8%. So what will happen is whatever profit I was generating completely vanishes, right? That are the kind of situation that can actually happen in any finance company. So this is a more simplistic example, but there will be things like whatever investment I make, reinvestment I make, the inflation charge, all those things come into calculation. But as an actuary, what I need to identify is understanding what all are the potential changes that the government might bring, and accordingly, how much should I charge Oath so that my profitability in the long run remains intact. Clear? Did you understand what the example that I tried to give? Okay, Abdu, understand. Guys, if you've understood, maybe a thumbs up or a chat that, okay, understood the example. Okay, perfect. I think I have some people who've understood it. Great. Guys, if you want to speak up, you can turn on your mic and speak it up. I think I might not be able to look at the queue as quickly.
Yes. So, sir, there are few of the people like Oath, Sridhara.
Yeah.
Sridhara, Oath, you could please turn on your mic and
So what is a repo rate?
Yeah, so repo rate is the rate at which repo rate essentially means any interest rate that is charged, and repo is the repurchase rate. It's a short of repurchase. So the repo rate is the rate at which the central bank gave money to me at. So let's say if you go to the bank and ask for some loan, it will say give you money at 8%, right? Similarly, when I as a bank go to the central bank charge me 6% as a rate. So this 6% becomes the repo rate.
Okay, sir.
Understood? Anyone else? Any question, any doubt?
No, sir, no.
Okay, perfect. Cool. So largely, guys, this is what is repo rate. This is what one of the examples can be of what kind of work that actuaries do. So essentially, what as an actuary I'll be doing, I'll be quantifying the risk of lending money to Oath. Then I'll have to predict what can happen. Let's say Oath itself repaying me back or not. Like I'll have to identify his credit score and everything around it. So that is predicting the risk that can happen and taking decisions so that I can minimize this risk as much as possible. That is what actuaries do in various industries. That can be life insurance, non-life insurance, pensions, risk enterprise, investment banking, data science, all these industries. I hope that you've gotten a context of what actuaries largely do. Like within this itself, there are many small things that actuaries do. So there are things like pricing, reserving, modeling, consulting, reinsurance, lot of things that happen. But for the sake of time, this is the most simplest of way to understand what actuaries do. And we use mathematics, as Samantha mentioned, we use mathematics, statistics, economics, business to understand all small elements that can go wrong and use our predictive modeling skills to identify what can actually happen and then essentially control that as well as we can. So again, to sum it all up, as an actuary, we develop skills that can help us to predict what might happen in future and reduce the impact of it as much as possible, so that as a company, we remain solvent and profitable for the longest period of time. This is largely what actuaries do, and there are various forms in which you do this kind of task, which we just discussed about. Now, let's take another example. I'm sure everyone knows about Elon Musk, right? He's as famous a face as he can be. So recently, he made a statement, and not recently, it's been 2-3 years, but he made a statement where he said that he has great respect for actuarial profession and he wants revolutionary actuaries. Why did he say that? Largely because what he was doing was revolutionizing the entire industry of automobile. Now, a lot of people understand that Tesla is famous for electric vehicle, but honestly, Tesla is famous for autonomous driving. Like it made electric vehicle cool by having autonomous driving. That is what is the core of Tesla. Now, because there is autonomous driving, what he said is the traditional measures of measuring risk of a claim is essentially, let's say, an accident coming and a claim coming to the insurance company completely changes. I'll tell you why. So think about what are the basis of deciding a car insurance premium. Like what would you expect can happen, or how would you decide a car insurance premium? It'll be things like ability to crash, or let's say probability of crashes in particular localities. So it is expected that there are some localities where people are a little more rash and might have more reckless driving, would have a higher probability of crashing. Similarly, a lot of time age and gender of the driver also determines a lot about the possibility of traffic. At their youth, people tend to be overspeeding, do rash driving, and of course that ends up in more accidents. The driving history of the person, you all must have heard of no claim discount. Like if you drive well, then you get a discount. So essentially they are looking at what have you done in past, because if you've done something in past, you might continue that in future. The capacity of the vehicle, how big the vehicle is, how, like, let's say if it is a truck, then of course the technical skills and everything else or the risk associated increases. If it's a smaller vehicle, it's easier to maneuver. All those things improves the or reduces the chances of a claim coming in. The age of the vehicle itself. There are so many factors that come into picture when you think of whether like there can be a claim, and hence how much should be the premium of that particular car. Now, when he came in, he said, because I am building a car that drives itself, things like location, things like age, things like driving history does not matter, because as a car, it will only, as a machine, it will only improve over time. So I need different way of measuring risk, because otherwise I will be charging more than I should, because my car is much more superior because of the driving pattern. So the driver history and driver itself completely goes out of the picture. So what he wants now is to have a completely new structure of deciding how much premium to charge. But in this case, there'll be problems like, let's say, okay, maybe let me ask you this question. If a Tesla, this happened a lot of time and has come in the newspaper also. Let's say if there's a car and there's someone sitting behind the car, but it's a Tesla car, it's autonomous, driving at an autonomous mode, and it hits a curb. Who is responsible? Is it the machine? Is it the person? Or is it someone who's outside the car, let's say the outside environment? So according to you, who would be the person responsible? Maybe you can go to the chat, or you can turn on your mic and discuss about it. If we are going in an autonomous driving car and the accident and an accident happens, who will be responsible? Will it be the car who is responsible? Will it be the driver, or will it be the external factor? Whatever you feel like, you can put it on the chat. What are your thoughts? Will it be car, or let's say largely, would you put the blame on the car or the driver? I think multiple parties will be responsible, right? So there's no yes or no arbitrary answer. Car might be more responsible. Okay. So you feel that if it is autonomous, then of course it is your responsibility to ensure that it is. It makes sense, right? Like if you're saying that the software is so good, then why would I care? Like software has to take the entire blame. Machine has said algorithms might be. Perfect. So Kabir says person will be responsible, or there can be malfunction. So of course, this is a very long debate. The case got registered on the name of driver, but she claimed that it was the machine's fault. But the point is, so one of the arguments, I won't say the point, there's no definitive argument. It's a debate after all. One of the points that you can keep is that ultimately it is the person's responsibility to ensure that you reach to the place safely. So let's say if you are a parent, then it is your responsibility that your child behaves in a certain way until it reaches adolescence, right? Or until they're adult. So essentially what I'm saying is that accountability cannot be delegated to a car. That is just one of the argument, of course. As a driver, I would of course claim that if I'm purchasing a technology that is claiming to be autonomous driving, then it has to be the machine that is to blame. But as the machine, they'll claim that we have put a disclaimer that we are just assisting you with drive. You still have to be attentive. So the debate will go on. But the point is, these kind of questions are the epicenter of where actually is coming. To identify what all can be the possibilities of the risk that can come up, and then identifying what would be the right way to mitigate those risks so that your future is as soundproof as possible. That's largely what actuaries do. Where do they stand as of now? As I said, like has been one of the highest paid professions in finance, particularly in worldwide, ranks around number 7 right now. Kind of roles involves pricing. So when I say pricing can be bank side, can be largely insurance side, your premium pricing. There's a lot of reserving, modeling. So when I say modeling, it's of course financial modeling, projecting the future outcome of companies, consulting, a lot of consulting, reinsurance and solvency work. Solvency 2 is a framework similar to IFRS 17 that companies needs to follow. So within the framework, there's a lot of requirement in terms of testing the data or testing the financial health, which actuaries do. And then ESG has been coming up as we discussed earlier. The biggest industries of actually, the biggest opportunity of actually up till the longest period of time used to be US and UK. But a lot of things have changed in the last 5-7 years, especially after COVID. And we are seeing India, UK, UAE, Australia, and Singapore as the biggest opportunity markets for actuaries right now. To have a comparative table in terms of the various professions, there are CAs, CFA. Within finance, largely there is CA, CFA, FRM, data scientists, and fellow actuaries. Largely, a CA would typically earn, a qualified CA would earn somewhere around 10 to 12 lakhs, a CFA around 12 to 18, an FRM. See, just a caveat, CFA and FRM are certification courses. So they itself are not degree. So largely, if you've done something, you can top it off with CFA, FRM, you will earn somewhere between 12 to 20 lakhs. As a data scientist, you can expect 20 to 25 lakh, 8 to 25 lakh, a big range because the industry itself is very big. It's not one single industry that people work in. Actuaries have a very small range, but very high. As a fellow actuary, you can expect somewhere between 25 to 35 lakh in India itself. And of course, it grows as you go ahead in your profession. So this is for someone who's just qualified as an actuary. It's a very industry standard practice as of date. So depending on the company, you can expect this largely. And of course, it usually ends up being one of the highest paid professions. Only if you've probably, let's say, uh, done a very prestigious MBA course in finance and then working in investment banking, then you'll probably earn a little more than an actuary would in your career progression. But yeah, that is largely the landscape. Similar numbers can be seen in an average global average salary, just that you inflate that number with the purchase power parity. I'll not discuss about purchase power parity. I think there are so many reels that has been made about it, but largely if you go to a larger economy, the payment is higher because the expense also is higher. So we also have an average salary comparison out there. These are all, by the way, annual salaries, of course. No one is paid 25 lakh as a after 3 years monthly. So at least in India, that's the case. So these are largely all annual salary expectation. Key responsibility also. So as you go further and further towards the calculation part of things, your responsibility increases and hence the future proofing also increases. I'm sure a lot of you would have a doubt on how AI is going to impact the profession or in general any profession. What we have seen is that any frontline work or any work that does not require as much accountability is the first one to get replaced. Now it's not about whether AI can replace it or not. It is about whether there will be acceptability to replace it or not. Everything can be done. So I am currently building a company that essentially runs on AI that automates hiring for freshers through AI. So we are replacing the entire placement coordinator or the entire recruitment agency through AI. So the point being, everything can be replaced through AI. So the point is, who will be most affected is the one that would have the least responsibility or accountability. So let's say if I am someone who's an accountant, easiest to replace. But let's say if I'm a CFO and my sign is going to be, let's say as a CA, I have to sign an audited book for a company, then I cannot be replaced, because as we discussed in Tesla case, it's about accountability. Machine does not delegate accountability. So if you are in a high responsibility role, the possibility of you being replaced by AI, of course, reduces. It'll be important that you, of course, leverage the entire work through AI, but yeah, largely you won't get replaced. Where do actuaries work? Typically insurance, but this is the domain that we have seen in the past with our students. So a large part of actuaries work, at least at IAQS, 30% goes towards life insurance, 13% non-life, 16 risk advisory, 11 employee benefits, 13% in financial modeling, and then there are small portions in private equity, quant analyst, business analyst. There are some people who start their own business also there. So there's a lot more role that keeps on happening, and it's only increasing as we proceed. But largely, still insurance happens to be the biggest employer overall for actuaries. How do you achieve your actuarial goal? I think the easiest way to answer this question would be, you need to have a very decent academic foundation. So it requires some bit of academic rigor. So you need to enjoy numbers. You need to have some ability to sit through the textbooks and give exams. So it has some papers that you have to clear to qualify as an actuary, and that is when your value gets unlocked. So from the degree perspective, you need to have some academic rigor. You need to have some professional certification. It either comes from your country's actuarial body or from IFoA, the UK body, which is largely recognized across the globe. Then you need to have some industry exposure. You need to be working in some industry. You need 3 years of qualify experience as an actuary to qualify for like the fellowship. You need to have some coding skills. It's becoming more and more relevant day by day. You need to learn skills like Python, R, all these things. And then, of course, you need some mentorship, some internship, some networking so that you can excel in your career once you are an actuary. So this is largely what all other things that are needed in the profession of actuary in general. Now I'll move to how we are here in terms of what we are offering, and then we'll quickly do a Q&A. I'll keep this part as short as possible. So largely, I want to first talk to you about RRU. I'm sure not many of you know about it. RRU, or Rashtriya Raksha University, is an institute of national importance under the Ministry of Home Affairs. So it was established by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he was the CM, and then it graduated to a national university when he became the Prime Minister. Their focus is largely on risk management, national security, and financial resilience of the country. Has multidisciplinary campus across various industries and has a global exposure. It's located, so it has 4 campuses across India. There are some that are in plans abroad also. And the main campus is in Gujarat, which has, it's like a 200-acre campus in the heart of Gandhinagar, the capital of Gujarat. Very beautiful campus. We'll talk about it a little later. But largely, yeah, you can see so on the left, he's the Vice Chancellor of the Institute, Mr. Bimal Patel. Then, of course, Amit Shah, Modi ji, and then you have Bhupendra Patel. These kind of people essentially come to the Institute and kind of keep the Institute, like kind of help the Institute in the right direction and support the Institute in as whatever way possible. So, yeah, that's about RRU. IAQS, I'm sure most of you would know if you know about Actuarial Science, is the most premier institute of actuarial and quantitative studies in India and globally. So we are the only ones in India who are IFoA accredited, who run IFoA accredited BSc MSc programs in India. We have over 400 plus alumni base that have now been placed. So we already have a very good alum connect that's in place. And we have faculties that are CFAs, CAs, CFAs, actuaries, engineers, data scientists, MBA, you name it. And we even have we've had faculties who are the managing partner at Big Four's teaching. We have had appointed actuaries who've taken lectures. So we have in fact, today itself, I was at one of the discussion forums where they were talking about IAQS being one of the most well-connected institutes, at least when it comes to actuarial and quantitative studies. Global placement network, as we're launching this hybrid program, we've gotten a lot of connects in Dubai and UK also, as well as Singapore, to get our students placed. Then about the program, that's largely why we're here. So the purpose of this session was to introduce to you the industry of actuarial science, and then also help you out in terms of how do you achieve whatever you are trying or setting yourself to achieve. So I'm sure many of you would already know, but largely IAQS has, in collaboration with RRU, launched a 2-year hybrid program of MSc in Actuarial Science with data analytics. It's completely live, plus all the sessions recorded. So it's not like a recorded lecture. It's essentially the same program that we've been learning for over 5 years, but now in over 7 years, but now in a hybrid manner. So that we get access, so that we're able to offer you more flexibility and global reach. Completely live lectures, all of course recorded, so that in case you have some other commitments, you can manage the study accordingly. Same management, same placements, everything essentially remains the same. And it's just that the studies are online. The examinations are still offline. We have exam centers across the country and some globally, where the students will be called to write exams. So we have all the exams that are going to be in written format offline. Along with that, we have campus immersion sessions. So in the 200-acre campus that we were talking about, we're going to every semester call on students for a lot of networking and everything else that is going to happen around the program. That will involve, let's say, calling out all the industry leaders to talk about what's happening in the industry, for you guys to from peer-to-peer networking perspective, learn from each other. There'll be a lot of assignments and projects that will be planned offline when the exams are conducted during that period. Of course, the exam has to be offline. The immersion would be on the lieu of the candidate, because some of the professionals that we are seeing are coming from working nature. So since they have working commitment, they would have to plan accordingly. But we would have that option where there'll be a lot of peer-to-peer learning as well for the students, so that they have better overall impact in terms of their career. It's a flexibility that largely fits a global, or in this case, a very diverse diaspora. So it's essentially helping you to learn from anywhere. We have more than 15 plus states where we have some or the other presence in terms of alum or faculty or something else or the other. And same goes with countries. Around 5 countries we have alums in. So gives a good community and network effect. Ideal for working professionals, someone who wants to get into the profession a little late, who've probably doing something or the other, or someone who wants the flexibility largely to like study from their hometown. And of course, international students, there's a lot of arbitrage when it comes to studying from India. Then there is, of course, placement support that IAQS is largely very famous for. I think last year we had achieved about 100% placement in the master's program. BSc itself, we had over 90%. So there's, I think, if you go to Google, there'll be no one who can deny this fact. And then, of course, we do a lot of projects, internships, case studies with the faculties from the industry that helps the student to grow not just academically, but also professionally in terms of their grooming skills and everything. So that's about the flexibility that the program offers. We cover about 10 actuarial papers from IFoA as a part of the program. Covers a lot of things like FRM and CFA through Solvency, 2 FRM 17 and Basel norms. We essentially cover all the softwares that we earlier talked about and are relevant in actuaries, things like R, Python, VBA, and even Profit software, a licensed software that we have as a part of our contract with FIS that we use to train students. And then, of course, we have international partners, international faculties, and all the academic support that gives you a good global relevance. In conclusion, like, we are trying to offer the most flexible and globally recognized actuarial program supported by the government and the industry, and a perfect launchpad if you want to get into the field of actuarial science, technically a financial field which involves more of analytics and the mathematical part, or the fancy part of finance. If you want to get into, I think that's where we shine, and that's what we are offering, and essentially helping you to redefine your career from whatever path. So let's say if you are in a different industry and you want to move into this happens to be the best launchpad that we can give you in terms of putting you in the right place with the right people, giving you the right mentorship and the education so that you can quickly propel into the actuarial industry faster. That's essentially our proposition. And yes, now I'm open to question and answers. I think we're towards the end of the session. We have 12 to 15 minutes. Any questions, anything related to finance, related to actuary, related to AI, happy to answer. I have 2 questions that I can see right now. I'll start with those. I've completed MA Economics. I am doing work with company. Okay, Sridhar, the question I could not understand here. So Sridhar, what is the question here?
Sir, I am completed MA Economics, sir. I am do work to company, sir. Company work doing, sir.
That's fine. That's fine. Like, so how we've designed is essentially, while you might be working, you'll have to, of course, manage. It's not an easy task. You have to manage your studies and work. But once you are comfortable, then you can decide to move towards actuarial as you get placement or internship, or after the profession, like after the degree, you start moving towards actuarial. But it is designed to help you study along with work. So the degree is going to, like, the program is going to be conducted from Tuesday to Sunday instead of Monday to Saturday. And weekends are going to be the time where there'll be more lectures, and all the doubt solving will happen again on the weekends, because that gives more flexibility, so that even in case you are not able to attend completely on a weekday, you have the weekend to cover. How much coding does an actuary need on a day-to-day work? A very interesting question, Yash. There's no one answer. There are a lot of fields that are there within actuarial industry itself. Largely work happens on Excel, and the coding part involves, let's say, 30% of coding, depending on, again, the industry. So let's say if you are into reviewing work or if you're into modeling, then you'll have to do some coding. A lot of coding now is required in terms of automation. So Python and VBA based automation is happening a lot. So there a lot of coding is happening. So let's say I might have to do some coding on Python to improve my overall efficiency of calculating reserves, is one way to say. I hope that answers the question. Do someone needs to be a top scorer? No. So largely that has been one of the reasons why people don't pick up actuaries. People feel that it is very difficult to crack and a very difficult profession. It's just that people hate mathematics in general, and it requires some bit of mathematics. I won't say it's a degree in mathematics, it's a degree in actuarial science, but you need to like numbers. And it's a perception that also helps you. So because people feel that it is for the toppers, wherever you go, you'll be respected very much. It'll open doors for you. Like if you are going, let's say, it gives you similar benefits to an IIM alum. So I have used that as a startup a lot. Like, I sit at IIM Ahmedabad and I talk with them a lot, and they look at me like I'm some genius because I'm an actuary. Although I don't feel that is the case. I am not been a top scorer in my life, but I've done fairly decent. Like I won't say that I was in the back of the lot when it comes to academics, but I was never a topper per se. So I would definitely say that being a top scorer is not something that is needed. Just a second. I think my video is appearing clearly. Cool. Next question. I hope that answers for the scorer.
Kaduri raised the hands. So
I
Kaduri, could
quickly
you please?
answer once on the chat and then move to hands. Is that fine, Vishal?
Yeah, sure. Why not? And
Yeah.
also, so I'll be sharing the feedback form while you are taking the
Okay.
questions, so people can definitely fill the form
Works.
as they
Works.
discuss.
Works. Also, guys, you are happy to turn on the mic and speak it up as well. I'll be more than happy to chat with you. But yeah, till then, I'll keep on asking the question, answering the questions from the chat. I would like to know if the hybrid program has credentials from IFoA. So we are currently in talks with IFoA. In fact, we had a conversation today itself. So there's a process that has to be followed. It takes somewhere around 5 to 6 months. It's already been 3 months of conversation. So mostly by the start of the program, we'll get the accreditation from IFoA as well. We're very positive about it. In fact, we like both our programs, the existing programs are currently accredited, and this also has positive notations. So by the start of the program, we'll be confirming that as well. But yeah, largely as of now, no, but we're very confident we'll get that. Sir, is the MSc program okay? Same questions. MSc program under IFoA as well. So the IFoA accreditation is on the process. By the time the program starts, it'll be done. Not a problem. So I think for from the admission perspective, Vishal is a better person to talk about. Largely, I think what I understand is they will like IAQS will, in case you feel that the accreditation is not coming, you can go in and take the money, or you can join another program that has accreditation. But largely, we're very confident that accreditation aa jayega. Like from whatever conversation we've had with IFoA so far. Considering the complex studies and rigorous practice, will online be better or offline? Honestly, there's no right or wrong answer. So from the delivery perspective, there's no difference. Same management, same faculty, same placement, everything is same. The benefit of online is it gives you flexibility and saves you on a lot of time. So for some people, online suits better because let's say it gives you the comfort of staying at home and practicing better. So let's say if you move to an offline format, you'll have to manage things like travel, commute, stay, all those things that a lot of times becomes a little bit tedious, especially in a city like Mumbai. But that being said, the benefit there is that you get a little bit better push. But if you are motivated, I personally, so when I was preparing for my papers, I always used to do online studies. So it's online has been a format that suits me better. So you'll have to decide, Kaustuv, which mode suits you better. From the rigor perspective, it creates no difference. As I said, like I personally, I've studied everything online only, using YouTube and everything, very honestly. But now we have the MSc route, so you can use that. From the delivery perspective, from the content perspective, from the immersion perspective, learning perspective, there'll be no difference is what I can say. Whether you have that discipline or not, you have to decide. I hope that answers. Kabir, what type of mathematics is useful as an actuary? Applied maths or scientific maths? Largely applied maths. So calculus is used, and that's largely about it. So calculus, probability, and somewhere vectors if you go towards coding side or AI side more. But otherwise, mathematics is just for you to understand things better. So as the example that I took about how can you leverage the understanding of mathematics in deciding how much interest rate to charge, those kind of questions require some understanding of changes that are happening across the patterns that you see. That change, that visibility of change, mathematics helps you to get. So if you've learned derivatives, for example, what is derivative? It is essentially a slope, right? A rate of change of something. If you are able to visualize that rate of change, you can apply it to any place. So that is largely the benefit or the use of mathematics, I would say. That's all you need. You don't need trigonometry or all the scientific stuff that is there. From when can we start appearing for the actuarial science examinations? So from you can start appearing anytime you want, honestly. Like right after 11th, you can start appearing for the examinations. For the master's program, of course, you need to have the graduation to start the master's program. If you're talking about how to apply for this program, we have a, like, if you guys are interested, I would suggest you apply for RSET or QAT today itself. We'll be having first cutoff examination happening soon. So that there's an interest. I think I'll let Vishal later on to talk about that. I'll talk about actuarial and try to clear your questions first. Actually, I am a qualified actuary, Ojasvi. I've cleared all my papers. From when can we start? Okay, Ojasvi, I think I've answered. Simone, does IAQS have a degree of actuarial science, or we are required to pursue another degree in order to become? Okay, so actuarial science, how it works, Simone, is that you have to clear the papers from an actuarial body like IAQS, IFoA or IAI. So those are the people who provide degree, and there are like 13 papers that you need to clear to become an actuary. What IAQS does is it helps you to clear those papers faster and in a degree format. So actuarial science is a study. You become an actuary when you start working. So to become an actuary, even if you have a degree and you start working, you'll be called an actuary. But to become a qualified actuary, then you'll have to get certification from IFoA or IAI or any actuarial body that your country of residence might have. There are papers that you need to clear. We covered 10 of those papers. So it becomes easy for you to essentially become actually from that particular institute through a master's route from IAQS. Yogesh has a question. Which bachelor's course would you recommend to enter the field of actuary? I think the question is a little subjective again in terms of what all are your options, but largely if you are planning to pursue actuary, then being in an actuarial course would of course be better. So there is a BSc program that we run, BSc in Actuarial Science. It's in Mumbai. That's very good, very well suited for anyone who wants to pursue actuarial and who is fairly clear that he wants to pursue actuarial. As mentioned, faculties are same, but I think the offline program is based in Mumbai, hybrid is based in Gandhinagar. Yeah, so hybrid, the immersions would happen in the campus, but the program would happen live format. So faculties from Mumbai and Delhi as well would come. So since the management is same, we have the same faculties in the sense that depending on the most suitable faculty, like how do we decide faculty is also based on where we want our students to be placed. So let's say if I want the student to be placed, I'll find the MD of that Big Four to get as a faculty. So that's the process that we follow. But largely because it is hybrid manner, the lectures will be happening in a live live online manner from remote. So location does not matter technically. I think that answers the question, Kaustubh. Oath, what is the status of IFoA recognition? As I said, Oath, so the process is going on. We had one level of conversation today itself. It's already moved a couple of stages. It's in the final stages. Before the start of the program, we'll have the confirmation as well. We're very confident. What are some common mistakes students make when entering actuarial profession? Very interesting. The common mistakes I would say is to either overestimate or underestimate. When I say overestimate, sometimes people overestimate their own capabilities and don't take it seriously and hence have to take a setback. When I say underestimate, they underestimate their own capability and stress about it so much that they're not able to understand concepts and just focus on exams. So I personally feel these are the two biggest problems that people face. Other than that, more than mistake, I would say finding a mentor is very important, especially in an industry like this where externally you don't have sufficient information available. So a lot of time I've seen that people don't really have right mentors who can essentially guide them through the process. So if you can find a right mentor, there'll be small mistakes that you can have. But yeah, largely it's either overestimating or underestimating the profession and the complexity that comes. Otherwise, it's a fairly decent profession. Is this the first year? Yes, it's the first year of hybrid program. Guys, if you have questions, you can also turn on the mic and speak up. We'll be happy to talk to you.
Can we start internship from semester 2?
Yeah, you can. In the hybrid, you can, yes. We've had students.
BSc actually open.
BSc also people do internships from second year. Anything else?
All right.
Yeah, go ahead,
I,
Abdul.
I just would like to ask a question about the internships and the researchers that are appeared in the program or in the course. Uh, with which parties do you have like
Sorry, your voice,
agreements?
your voice was not very audible. Can you repeat?
I said with which parties do you have agreements to handle this internship and researches?
So, which parties in terms of?
In terms of internships.
Are you talking about companies?
Yeah.
So largely you can go to the website, you'll see the placement report. Those are the companies that we already have had past relation with. How it works is like we already so I myself have been in the industry for 10 years. The entire team cumulatively has more than 40 years of experience. Depending on the profile we have, we directly go to the company. Because the industry is so niche, we pretty much know everyone in the industry. As in every company, we know someone or the other. So depending on the profile, we directly go to the company. So we can talk to any company, and as of now, pretty much every company has been very receptive of us. I hope that answers.
Hi, sir, we are past our time. However, there are a few people who are dropping off. So I would just request them to fill out the feedback form because it is very important for us to basically know how you feel about the seminar, and it helps us gauge what your interests are like. So yeah, just request you to fill the feedback form, and yeah, we can continue with the question session.
Hello, Aman.
Cost. So just 1 second. I like the question that Kaustav has put up. So entering the profession without not with basically non-math background, would it require some earlier practice? So two answers. One, we do everything from scratch. So as long as you're happy looking at numbers, you should be fine. But two, to clear the entrance test, you need to have some mathematical understanding. So I don't know when you say non-math how weak your basic calculus or probability in these kind of subjects are. But if not, then you'll have to do like a crash course of 15-20 days to have some basic understanding of some of the concepts that are asked in the entrance test. But once you are in the profession, like once you are in the degree core program, everything is done from scratch. So that's not a problem. Yes, Oth, you can go ahead.
Yes, Aman. Thank you so much. If I may add on as well to the previous question, I think high school maths it's more than enough. It's just if you can just brush up on the calculus, because I've passed like 3 papers before for actuarial from in the Indian Institute, so it's not really that much into maths. It's more of logical reasoning than actual maths. Right, and then my question, I wanted to find out because I understand in the program there's some actuarial software that are covered. Do you happen to cover profit and the other very specific actuarial softwares in the hybrid program?
Yeah, we have profit as one of the subjects, so we will be covering profit as well.
Okay. And then there's the second question. The exams, when they're being held, do we need to come to Mumbai or we have to go to Gujarat?
No, so there'll be some or the other center largely like near you as well, depending on once how the finance structure comes. Otherwise, you can come to either Mumbai or Gujarat. Either place is fine.
Okay.
For this session, we invite you to Mumbai, Gujarat, because the campus in Gujarat is it's very nice a campus. It's very easy for the logistics and everything to happen. The stay and everything we organize from our side itself in Gujarat, so it becomes much more easy from logistical part. But you're free to go to any either of the places.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? I'm pursuing fellowship from III, completed associateship, will consider here in MSc. Sure, you can stay in touch with Vishal. I think he can help you along, Kaustav, in the process. I think I like Meghna's question. I have not addressed this. As compared to CA and actually, which one feels tough? I have come from a family of a lot of CAs, and a lot of my friends are CAs. So they always used to think that actually is way more difficult. But as an actuary, I used to feel that CA is difficult. But to answer a little more quantitatively, I would say CA is not as difficult in terms of the academic record, but it requires a lot of hard work. On the other hand, actuaries does not require as much hard work, but it has more intellect and academic rigor that is needed because it is more practical and understanding than rote learning. So I think that should address the question, Meghna. Anyone else? Any other question?
There is Arushi who has asked how many exams will be conducted in every semester in the BSc course.
Largely 6 to 7. Anything else, anyone? If not, we can drop.
Samanvita just asked what are the top 3 emerging trends. So we'll be just taking 2 questions more, and post that we can end this session.
Cool, great. What are the top 3 emerging trends in actuarial science the students should prepare for in 2025? Interesting. Top 3 trends, of course, one is AI, how to use AI tools. Second is coding. So a lot of things, or I wouldn't say coding, I would say Python. So a lot of works have started happening on Python of actuaries. The third is non-traditional actuaries. So I can be one example where I'm not working in insurance or consulting. A lot of people are going towards investment in non-traditional route and risk advisory especially. So that itself is a very big route. So probably topping your degree with some banking knowledge can land you in a very good position. I think that these are the 3 good trends that are emerging right now in the actuarial field. One more thing, are the internships from second year or the second semester? The internships are largely from the second year. Would you be open to sit for internships from second semester as well? And how long do you help with that? Largely, we keep on, so we have a portal where we keep on sharing with you the relevant, like as companies. So largely because we are the biggest institute, at least in India, in terms of training the actual talent, companies come to us directly with their requirement because we are their first choice, of course. So we share that with the students and then help them prepare for that particular role if they are interested, and then they can essentially take it on and then go ahead with their career. How long? Like largely as long as the student wants, the support is always there. There's an alum portal that is always available. Any other question? Cool. I think that brings us to the end of the session. Thank you so much, guys, for attending. I know it's a Saturday and you must have the jobs. Okay, I'll take this one last. Is there a minimum number of exams that you need to clear to get started? No, there's no such restriction. You just need to clear all the exams to become qualified. Otherwise, there's no specific requirement. Great, perfect,
so
guys.
I want to ask you if you record this session, because I confused it about the time, and I be with you later.
No worries. What we'll do is we'll share with you the recording as well. We shall try to ensure that you share the recording with everyone.
Sure. Asma, you could definitely connect with me. What I'll be doing is I'll be dropping my WhatsApp number over the chat, and we have shared a feedback link. So you could definitely mention that in the comments, and we'll be definitely reaching out to you as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Great.
Asma.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. You guys were lovely. Thanks for all the questions. Bye. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.